Hi. Good evening. Hello. Uh-oh. Hello. Hi, sibling. I'm getting fancy for you. It's all for you. It's good to see everyone. Glad to see that you're coming here to be in community with us. Oh, oh, what's up? What's up? What's no? What's up is a wonderful thing is happening this evening. If you don't know, BLX will be having a serious conversation. And you know, when we say serious, you know what that means, right? That means there will be shenanigans. Oops. Let me accept.
Hey,
Yeah.
sir, add Max to she just
What you talking about, Willis?
joined.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Wait, what you talking about? I
Yes.
see you. Come on. Oops, I think I missed it. Oh, got it. At least I hope I got it. Did I do it? You know I'm yeah.
There she
Uh-oh.
goes.
All right.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Uh-oh.
All right.
The, the gang's all back
Hey,
together.
It's a gang
hey.
gang. The gang gang.
Gang, gang.
Hello. We're gonna wait a few minutes while more people that's right, while more people join.
Okay.
If you don't know who we are by now, I am Sir Raven, the CEO of BLX. I am your brother from another mother, your sister from another mister, your sibling from another nibbling. I am joined this evening with our BLX, what do we call you, Liquid? Oh,
The C-
the
CPO.
CPO of BLX. And we have, um, um, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm kind of nervous. I have to pull out my fan because
Oh, dear.
have to pull out my fan. We are joined tonight with Max Rules. If you don't know,
Now you
you're
know.
gonna learn today.
You gonna find out.
You're gonna learn today. I will leave Max to. We got enough time for you to read your resume, right, Max?
Oh, okay.
Look at Max's face. Tell our
Oh,
followers
you want
a
me
little bit
to
about
tell
yourself, Max.
And so it begins.
it? I'm trying to get my
The
give me a
shenanigans.
footstool happening here.
Okay,
Uh,
get comfortable. If everybody else should get comfortable too, get your beverage, get your smoke, get your fan, every
okay.
time every time we say
Got my bag.
shenanigans, what happens?
Take a
Uh,
sip.
my name is Max Rules. I've been doing this thing for a little while. Um, I've enjoyed myself tremendously,
Mm,
and I always feel like when people say this, like you're doing a job interview. And I hate job interviews.
okay, so you
Oh,
know what? You don't have to
I
say
hear
it.
you.
I'll say it.
okay.
Maxwell is the bomb diggity. When I was a young bird joining the community back then, way back then, when the internet was fresh and new, I was looking for people that were like me and did not find many, but I
Mm,
did find Max Rules and was happy to see that there was someone like me, doing this loud and proud and all of that good stuff. I've had the pleasure of not only being in community with you, but seeing you teach, seeing what you do in the community. You're always giving of your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding, your patience.
I do that. I don't think you're gonna get nobody to co-sign that. I'm gonna go get me a lighter.
I was trying to be, so like my people are West Indian, so we're trying to be like, polite. We're trying to be in polite society.
Okay.
But Max is one of those people that I found when I was looking for someone that was like me. I'll leave it at that. Is that good enough?
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's
All right.
great.
Well, tonight we're really talking about, several things. Let me just say this. Our community, our BLX community is so wonderful. A question was asked about, do you have to own leather to be leather? And so we asked that question last week, the last time we were on, and we had a conversation that you don't. You don't have to own leather to be leather, right? Leather is what you are, right? And then, if you buy a skin and you put it on, that's fine too, if you can afford it. So we were talking about that, and then Liquid and I started talking about gifted leather, how one receives leather. And I had said in that conversation that a leather man had told me to go and buy myself a piece of leather because at the time I was taking care of a leather boy in the community. And we were just talking, and he said, you're doing that thing that we do, and you're looking out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't do nothing but buy you a drink, but you should go and buy yourself a piece of leather because that's what leather people do. We take care of our community. We do certain things. And that's what I did. I went and I bought me some leather. So Liquid and I started talking about how we acquired leather. That's how I acquired leather. I acquired it by someone saying going and buying it because, it's fine. But I've also had the opportunity of someone in the community gifting me leather for something that I did. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know that people were looking at me like that. I was just out here doing what I do. And someone said, I want to give you this. And I was like, well, what is it? And they were like, here, take it. And I was like, oh, this is cute. And so it's a leather cuff, which I was really touched because, like I said, I didn't know that people were looking at me and realizing the work that I was doing because, I'm really kind of like demure and quiet and unassuming. And so we started talking about that. So Max, do you have an experience or a thought, an opinion on how one acquires leather and what leather may mean to you?
I think it's about the heart. Leather, taking it from its very origins with the cow. It feeds, it clothes with the leather, it houses, it can be scrunched up and still come back together. It can be twisted. It can be used to stroke someone. It can be used to bitch slap someone. It is all the things and the resilience and the strength of the heart. I got my first leather from a thrift store, okay? Because that is where I shopped growing up. I am an international thrift store shopper. So the first piece I ever wore in terms of being a mistress, I had gotten out of the thrift store because I was sort of a solitary practitioner initially. So it is definitely about the heart. The heart can take so many breaks and beatings and twisted and thrown about, yet still,
This is very true. How about you, Liquid?
My first piece of leather that I got for myself was, I actually purchased it besides, what my grandmother gave me out of her closet, which was her leather shoes. Um, I got myself. The first gifted piece of leather was my cover that I received from Dark Desaad, photographer, Black photographer who only shot Black women in kink and in fetish. And from then on, which I, again, still have to this day after his passing, and the rest of the way I purchased my second piece of leather that I was ever gifted. I was gifted a couple of weeks ago, which brought me to tears, from the lovely Mistress Max. And that is
Are you?
going to the grave with me. In fact, that'll probably be what I wear
That's
on
so
my
you're
way
gonna
to
be
the
like an
grave.
Egyptian. You're gonna be buried with your stuff.
Listen, it is the most beautiful corset dress you have ever seen in your life. And I have had the honor to see it on Max, and then Max giving it to me,
Mhm.
and I got to wear it for Max.
That's true. So when we talk about leather, sometimes people think, well, another thing that came up in conversation with Liquid and I was, oh, I meant to bring that postcard over here. Well, at a test fest, we were at a test fest, Liquid and I, and we were standing outside. And by the way, where Test Fest is in Piscataway, New Jersey, is where IMSA will be in April. Again, I am not a staff member of IMSL. I just talk a lot about it. We were standing outside in the court, right, in the courtroom, in the courtyard. Sorry, and this sister came out, and it was one of the, we're in community, so she had her garb on. She was beautiful, and she walked over to us, and Doc asked, "Oh, where did you get your cover?" And the person said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Your cover. Where did you get your cover?" And and he pointed, and she said, "Oh, this hat?" Right? And he looked at me and Liquid, and he said, "Go and tell her something. Go and say something to her." And I kind of moved back and let Liquid talk. And then Liquid kind of moved back and let me talk. But really and truly, we had to really try to explain to her that things in this community have meaning and symbolism. And when she said, "Oh, I just went to the store and bought this hat," which there's nothing wrong with it, right? But there is some meaning and symbolism behind it, especially if you're in a certain community. And I'll let Liquid say some more if they want to.
Oh no, you were right on target with that. That day, I remember clear as day, because the hat reference made me almost fall out of my chair. We took it as a teaching moment. It wasn't one of shaming. It was a teaching moment, and explaining what the hat, what the cover represents. And so Raven and I have noticed at a lot of events, and especially, conferences, that people treat the cover as a hat. It is, they go into the store, they buy it, they wear it, not knowing the symbolism behind it. So we wanted to talk with you today, Max, about, what the covering and the cover signifies in community, and what it means, the covering of a master.
Okay. The cover, first I want to talk about the ugly shit first. For a lot of people, it is just a hat. And that's just the way it is. I mean, 20 years ago, you started seeing kids wearing leather. You know, it just became a fashion thing. We deal with people in this community. They come from vanilla world, and unfortunately, a lot of people check their common sense at the chain link fence before entering.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, I understand, concerns with regard to cover, because what is important with the cover is who is underneath the cover. The cover is not a place where you arrive. It's an acknowledgement of the journey you have been on up to that place. It is acknowledging from the person doing the cover or the family or the community that I see you struggling and fighting and working for me and for yourself. That you are definitely on the journey of self-mastery. So it actually is the beginning and a commitment to a lifelong journey of mastery for yourself and for others. For some people, they think it is a place of arrival. They think it is a crown. They think it is, I don't know what the fuck they think it is. I'm sure people look at y'all don't know what the hell they doing either. I'm just trying to tell you what it is supposed to be. It is that acknowledgement. It's that respect.
I'm sorry.
You know, as with all things, you know, people can misuse it. And unfortunately, with new people coming in who don't know and have not had the education, they see it as, oh, this is a super person. But that's not what it says. That's not what it means. It's a human being intent on being the absolute best they can for themselves and for others.
I'm going to take a sip.
I mean,
while the church,
I can't be much more concise than that.
I understand. I'm just, you know, I am here for your ministry.
But this is why education is important. This is exactly why it's important.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when, and really and truly, that's, now that I'm really thinking about it, but not really, because when, and let me just say this, after Liquid and I had the conversation with the young lady, she did take it off. And she didn't wear it. She did take it off and she did not wear it. Right? So I will, you know, I have to acknowledge that. Right? One. And two, I have to also acknowledge the fact that we were standing there and Doc felt comfortable enough and confident enough to turn to Liquid and I and say, go and speak to her. And he walked away. We were out there drinking and smoking cigars, and he, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden we were in a class, you know. But he felt comfortable and confident enough in us to be able to have that conversation with someone. And like Liquid said, it wasn't about judgment. It's about really teaching someone and letting them know. Because we're not here to do harm, right? And we're not here to ridicule and all. I mean, there's kiki and all that kind of stuff, but you got to know your audience. And we're really there because each one teach one.
Absolutely.
And just like someone taught us and lifted us up and educated us in certain things, it's our duty to do the same. I mean, when we spoke the last time, I was asking Liquid if they felt that they owed a duty to the leather women that came before them. And Velvet said no, homage, not duty, it's a homage, right? And so that weight is on you if you choose to accept it, you know. Sorry. So, speaking of symbols and covers and those kinds of things, I'm gonna get back to that cover. Likewise, I've been in places where people have had on collars, right? Like a leather collar, right? And then wondered why no one was talking to them at the party, at the dungeon, you know what I'm saying? Like, you walked in there, you fly, you all that in the bag of chips, right? But you got the collar on.
Right.
And so because you don't understand the symbolism and the meaning behind that collar, no respectable person is going to approach you in a certain way because that collar is saying something, and I had to have a conversation with another young lady about that. And she bought it because she liked it. She said, "Oh, this choker? It's a choker." I was like, "Well, it has an O-ring on it, but okay." You know what I'm saying? And so we had a conversation. In that instance, they didn't take it off, but that was their choice. I gave them the information. You do with the information what you do with it, right? And then you keep it moving. But when you talk about being covered and it's the person underneath the cover, I don't even want to say this, but I really want to know, have you had instances where, is there ever an instance where the cover is snatched off and you lose your respect for that cover? Not you, but a person loses the respect of the cover?
It's the face.
I'm looking at my altar. When I look up to the side, I'm looking at my altar. I'm looking at the ancestors.
I know some people who have given their cover back because the person who covered them, were lacking, and the person did not want to be associated with them anymore. So I have heard of people returning the cover. I've only heard of one instance where a cover was snatched back. Okay. My altar's downstairs, but I'm just going to look over into space right now for a second.
That's right. Wherever you are, they are.
There is absolutely nothing that you can really determine beforehand. You can make all the plans that you want. You can have all the hopes and wishes for people, but you do not know anything until after the deal goes down. So there are times when I have been disappointed in choices I have made. Because people sometimes disappoint. That's just real. I can sit with the reason this thing was done still exists. They went to the left, or to the right, or wherever the hell they went. But the reason for it still exists. And it's kind of up to the person how they walk. Karma is what it is. I don't know what someone's path has to be. So, like I said, I know of it given back. I only know of one instance where it was taken back. I don't know that I would do a take back. I guess because I understand cause and effect. And the universe is usually quite more entertaining than I could ever be.
Yeah, I hear that. Do you? That's funny. Do you? And I don't know this. I'm just asking, and I think I might have heard that only, and there's no handbook for the
Right.
community. You know, there's no instructions for stuff like that. This is sexual outlaws. Leather people are
Mhm.
outlaws in a whole lot of ways, right? But I've heard that only a covered master can cover another master, and I'm using master just
Yes.
as a,
Yeah.
I don't
That's
care
my
to stand up and sit
understanding as
down to
well.
pee. Right. Okay. So is that a thing? Could you talk a little bit about that?
That's the only way I've ever known for it to be. I've seen some other stuff, but you know, uh, sometimes you have to drink water and mind your business. Do you know what I mean? And keep it going. But I've heard of slaves covering their owner,
Mm.
master.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, I mean, but I don't, I'm not looking side eye at the slave. I'm looking at, is this how you want to do that? Okay.
Mm.
But
Mm.
it's my understanding that a covered master covers a master. I mean, whatever it is that you are working on or want to do, I mean, you don't go to the auto mechanic to get a doctorate degree. So,
It's true.
so,
It's true.
that,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just
Mm-hmm.
a matter of logic. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean?
Mm. Mm.
But
Mm.
there's just been the last 20 years or so a hell of an influx of people in the community. And, you know, they, on the education spectrum, just kind of fall through the cracks and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately become involved in not so cool situations. But then again, you have to circle back to you're a grown ass person. Why are you
Mm.
coming in here acting stupid? Were you stupid out there? Then I guess it's the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I've often said that the person that walks through the door, like say at a conference, a workshop, or whatever, or joins a group, is that same person. It's not like some magic
Right,
thing that happens, like
right.
that force field that happens, right? So if you really are an asshole out there, you're gonna be an asshole in here. It's just how we're gonna deal with you.
People do get tripped up though,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of what we do is based on our fantasies, our kink. That
Mm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they forget that it has to be lived in reality, in
Mm-hmm.
today. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Regardless, you can't, take off your clothes and bow in a restaurant and shit. I don't care how into, you know, kink you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think people bring the fantasy aspect in here, and this is real freaking life, yo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have to insert it into your fantasy, and if you don't, you will end up getting toe out the frame, as they say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because
One,
it's not all that
yeah.
shit all the time.
How what was your covering like? If you feel like talking about it, it may be personal and deep to you, and you may want to keep it close to your heart. And
Oh my God, I
did
had
you
been
have
doing.
people throwing petals at your feet? And okay,
Okay, hell to the no. I mean, like big time no.
mm,
I went a long time, like the year. I went I went 15 years without being covered.
ooh,
I didn't. I had seen enough assholes under those things that I really did
what?
not care.
Okay, my
You know,
plans fell. I gotta pick it
I'm
up.
sorry. You know, there weren't what there was Jill, Vi. I had not. I hadn't gotten really into that circle quite yet. But what other black woman was covered back then? Mir? Jill? That's it. That's it. They were men.
Ah.
And
you know what? I wasn't even thinking about that. That's crazy. I wasn't even thinking. I was thinking women. I wasn't even thinking about men.
There weren't any.
Mm.
They were men. So personally, I didn't care because my experience with many of them was, I mean, I didn't need it. And I was in Texas, and there was, I don't know if you've ever heard of Master Chess. And we got to be real tight while I lived in Texas. You know what I mean? She helped me start Just Us Women in Kink. We were like really cool. And I mean, I lived there for like 3-4 years. Real cool. Conversation never came up. Never came up. I had moved here. We were talking on the phone. And she goes, so who covered you? I said, nobody. I never bought one because I knew what it meant. So I wasn't going to do that. I'm like, ain't nobody asked me, so fuck them. Fuck it. And they ain't stopping nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
So Tess was anti-covers. She felt she'd been around a long time, old dyke. You know what I mean? And she was like, there's too many stupid people walking around with these covers. She actually did an interview in, what is it, Leatherati? Talking about how too many stupid people walking around with covers. So anyway, she asked me, so who covered you? I said, I don't have one. She was like, damn, if there's one person who should be covered, it should be you. Now, we are on the phone. I am in Baltimore. She is in Houston. She says, I Master Chess, cover you. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are we going to do this? She said, I'm going to mail it to you. I got covered in the mail, so, okay.
Okay. See?
And now I get the reference. The covers in the
Right,
mail.
Remember? Now I understand. Okay.
Yes. So even though it was like through the mail, I got it from someone who truly had respect for it. I mean, she was old school, old guard leather. You know what I mean? Like, she was like 40 years in at that point. So that's how I got covered.
I'm sorry. It's funny. And so when you put on this magical cover, did the stars align and the skies open up and
none of that happened. None of that happened. I didn't feel any different even when she said it to me, except I really appreciated that respect from her, knowing how she felt. You know, when there was lots of parties and all kind of stuff going on in Houston back then. And she would come, dressed and everything, but rarely would she wear her cover. It was not an outfit accent
right
for her. It was only if it was something very, very special going on that she wore it. Whereas, it's hot under that thing. I don't even understand it. People wear it all the time. It's hot in a motherfucker. Ain't you sweating under there? So
I hear you. I mean, I have a leather cuff, and that thing is sweaty on my wrist. So
And I'm
I
trying
can
to
I
tell
can
you,
imagine.
yeah. So, you know, I saw how she felt about it. You know, have read the interview, but before then, no one even said anything to me about it. And I was doing all the things,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was my attitude because the cover that was not going to change what I was doing. It was
Mm-hmm.
not going to change how I did what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could I could have had a piano on my head. What difference would it have made if I was a dishonorable person? I would have just been
Facts.
a dishonorable bitch with a piano on her head.
True. True. True.
So
Mm-hmm.
actions speak to values and intentions.
Mm-hmm. This is true. So we had the shenanigans. Let me take a sip for a minute. Mm.
I love
Mm.
shenanigans.
So while you take uh, shenanigans, I got to take two
mm,
sips now.
mm. So we had the honor and the pleasure and the wonderfulness um, that is being in community with you in person. And you actually covered Liquid.
Yes, I did.
You want to?
That was the best
I'm
weekend
still trying to
ever.
recover.
You know,
That Friday was the
it
best weekend.
this
Whew,
one was special
we had a
to me.
time.
It's only the second woman that I've ever covered, and it is at a time of change for me. And felt, I kind of felt like how I felt when I got covered in a way. I don't know why I didn't bring another light over here. This is killing me. Anyway, because I'd been around a long time and nobody covered me. So I was delighted to be able to do it for you, Mama, because you've been doing the damn thing a long time, doing what needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was honored to do that, honored to recognize that, especially from my brother Dark.
Mm.
So
Facts.
that made it extra.
I'm
That made it
Don't make
feeling
me
extra.
teary
cry
too.
again. I like, don't make me cry again.
So Liquid, since we have you here, and it's like, yeah, since we have you here, like, what? I mean, I know what it was like for me just being a spectator, right? I was like, damn, this is really going down. And you and I have been, we've been through some things. What was that like? Like when you said it to me, we're sitting here in the Bronx, and you said, "Yeah, this is gonna happen," and I was like, "Really?" Because and then I took it serious because I don't see you any different than because I've known you since you was 11, right? And I was 15, right? You were 11, I was 15, right? So I've known you, and so I didn't see you any different. I've seen your journey, I've seen your evolution, I've seen that, and so when I was told what was going to happen, I was more excited about, we going to Baltimore. I was more excited about going to Baltimore and seeing Max. I mean, and then you get covered too, but it's going to be like a lot of fun. But what was that like? Just the experience, the anticipation, because you sometimes, because I know you keep things, you're a bit composed. And if I'm getting too personal, let me know.
Oh, no, you're
And because
fine.
I'm the same way. But we can be vulnerable and those kinds of things with each other. But that day we were just like, it was a whole adventure for us coming out there to see Max. It was anyway. So what was that like for you? That journey, the journey to mastery. I'm sorry, to mastery. Wait, what is it? Master, right?
Mastress. That's what Mama called it. Mastress. the whole experience, I mean, just getting there, you know, I was in my nerves, you know, because
Right.
one, it's Max. Two, it was one of the most humbling experiences that I have felt. And it was very, very emotional for me because I have never felt more seen than I did at that moment. You know, to hear someone that you've followed in their journey, you know, and you know,
Me too.
I always said, I was like, I want to be like Max when
Right.
I grow up. Still want to be like Max when I grow up. To have someone tell you that they've watched your journey and they've watched you grow, it's a beautiful thing, because a lot of the time in this community, we don't get to hear that. A lot of people in this community can be self-serving. And so sharing that moment with people that I love and respect and admire, and then having all of this feminine energy in a room, even down to stage. It was beautiful. And that moment will stay with me forever. And exactly what you said, Max.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't feel any different.
Yeah.
Still me. I'm still me in a tight ass corset, can't breathe. But it was beautiful, and I wouldn't have.
Get this shit right.
It was beyond my expectations of what it was. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, even though that morning we were all dragging asses, because we partied the night before. 15 minutes before we supposed to be on, we like, change the time. But it was so beautiful because it was filled with tears. It was filled with laughter. It was filled with love and such beautiful conversation. And that moment, that experience, that was everything that we talk about when we talk about community.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It was when we talk about community or talk about the hopes of community, that covering was everything that we talk about. I mean, we ate together, we laughed together, we cried together, we got high together, we drank together, we talked shit together. It was just beautiful. And I wish and I hope for those coming up next in this community and those coming into this community get to enjoy and experience community, having nothing to do with the covering, but meaning just enjoying and having that sense of community. That, even if I didn't have the covering ceremony, even if it was just that weekend,
it was good
I was
stuff.
fine with that.
Definitely good stuff.
Yeah, it was. And even the people that came, that was even interesting because we may not know each other, but we know of each other. And so it was like we were family, like we were community. It was like, you know, I see you, I know what you're doing, I know what you're doing, I know, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And everybody was just vibing together, you know. We were kikiing and chit-chatting and laughing in one room about jars and gerbils, and then there was a whole scene doing rope in the cage in the other room, and everybody's just laughing and enjoying each other's energy and company and time and space. And it was just like that moment that everything just stood. We were all in the moment. We were all present. Because I've been into places and to spaces where you have so many things going on, but people aren't really actively engaged with each other. You know, they might be there present in the physical form, but their head is somewhere else, and everybody was just with everyone.
Yeah,
it was
that was
great.
Beautiful.
Woman energy.
Yeah,
Great.
it really was.
Yes.
I just cringe whenever I hear someone say that women cannot get along.
Mhm.
It is just, well, the
They
villa
weren't
has
at the villa.
something to do with it, but still, I just have never bought into that. And I honestly believe that that whole idea that women cannot get along was started by some guy who didn't want his wife and mistress to meet and get along.
Yep. Uh-huh. That is true.
Yeah.
We even we even had this strangest good luck charm, the house centipede that came in and just sat
It sure
and listened.
did.
The centipede just sat, listened, didn't move. And the last person to leave was Symphony. And after Symphony left, then the centipede left
Yeah,
as well too. I was like, well, everybody just came to the
that is
party.
true.
Oh,
That is
God.
very true.
She wanted
Yeah.
to say hi.
Oh, baby.
Hi, Sage.
Hey.
Look at her. We'll be back soon.
Okay.
2
Yeah,
weeks. We'll see
I
you.
Velvet wanted the centipede dead. But
Go
I
ahead.
know Velvet doesn't like anything that's a bug or anything. So they wanted it dead, but we gave it a reprieve. We gave it a
We let it
reprieve,
rock.
and I didn't understand because the best part. Well, there was many really great parts of that weekend, but my part was when I got to throw my leg up on Velvet, which was a lot of fun. And if you don't know, Velvet has a lot of great upper body strength because when I threw my leg up, my leg was still up there. Um, so that was a lot of fun as well. Um, what is it that I know we say that we want, have the hopes that others can experience that, especially, women can experience that. Um, I'm sorry. Stop talking, Velvet. To experience that. I know this is like really kind of corny, but what can women do to have that kind of experience, or try to create that kind of experience? Because sometimes people say, "Oh, we're gonna start a." Oh man, I'm really gonna fuck it. 2 tears in the bucket. Want to start women's groups, or these kinds of things, and they never really pan out. And I'm not saying that women don't have egos, because
I was about to say, it's the ego. Check the ego at the door.
I guess that's the answer then.
That's the answer all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much
Yeah,
doesn't even matter what the question is.
that's true.
But
That is true.
that's part of that mastery thing. Is not, it's not killing your dragon. You know what I mean? You don't want to kill that motherfucker because you might need it to go burn a bitch one day. But you do need to, keep it on a short leash.
Mm-hmm.
Train it or something. But ego's job is to fuck you up. Ego's job is to destroy you, point blank, period.
Mm-hmm.
So, try and try again. Start it again.
Mm-hmm.
I will share some advice I was given many, many years ago. I don't know if you all have heard of Nancy Ava Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Ava Miller, she is part of our history as women in this community. Hippy dippy, crazy ass white woman. Straight up. Straight up. She was into enemas and shit. That was her thing.
Okay.
With the exception of Eulenspiegel and one other group, every other group in this country started off as PEP. People exchanging power.
Oh, Pep, yes. That's right. That was in Atlanta, right?
They were all over the country.
Ah, okay.
And Nancy Ava Miller started PEP.
Mm.
She was a pro dom, the only pro dom for years who advertised in the Times in USA Today, because she billed it as a support group.
Mm-hmm.
She went to court to be able to advertise people learning about BDSM as a support group.
Mm.
And and years ago, she said, you should start a group. But the one thing I'll tell you is, don't have a board of directors. Stick to your mission, what it is you want it to be.
Mm. 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 Interesting.
And I took that advice because I'd also heard that advice years prior from an old pimp. And he said, you know how you in the street playing all by yourself and you're having a good time, and then some other kid comes along, sees you having a good time, and they want to play with you, so you let them play with you, and then maybe another kid comes, so now it's three all having a great time. Then another kid comes along. He wants to join, but he wants to change the game.
Mm.
That's that ego child.
Mm.
And next thing you know, the game is all fucked up and you ain't even having fun no more. So you have to stay focused on what it is you're wanting, what it is you're wanting to create. And everyone's not going to be down. And that's okay too. But you have to guard the integrity of what it is you're wanting to do. And that's why I think a lot of things fall apart. We don't really live in a democracy, right?
Oh, no, it's a dictatorship, really.
So I think that's important part. It sounds kind of cold or whatever, but that's it. You got a mission, you know how you want the thing to be, then you stay on point and you build that. Somebody comes, they don't like it, fine. Thank you very much. You go over there and create that thing that you want. And that's fine too. And every now and then, maybe we can all get together. And then we go back to what it is we're wanting to do. Because everything just ain't for everybody.
That's true.
But we sometimes want to make it like that. We want to make it like that. And it makes no sense, especially in what it is that we do. I don't understand how we, of all people, get judgmental. That is mental to me.
So you've had several groups that you started.
Only one.
Really? I thought there was another one.
There was Just Us Women in Pink. I started it in Texas, and then I brought it here when I came, and I did it here. So that's sort of the two. And then I'm kind of reviving it, but we're just calling it the Women's Circle.
Yeah. And that is true, because I know when Liquid and I were talking about BLX, when I was talking to people about it, other people about it, and I would say, yeah, it's for Black and Latin, people, and Black and brown kind of people, and this and they were like, well, what about? And I was like, fuck those people.
See, no, it's not really fuck the people, but I know what you mean.
But no, it's not really. But you know what I mean? It's like y'all already have so much. Y'all already have, and if you don't have it, you have the means, the privilege, the opportunity, all of those things to go and do it. So why, like you said it with the kid, why come over here and do a thing over here when
it's the nature of people. It's the nature of people to to fuck up your shit if you let them.
Yeah. This is very true.
I mean, some people, that's where their heart is. That unhappiness is there, and they don't want to see anybody else do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That attitude has lent to the interesting reputation that I have. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. If I see it as bullshit is bullshit, and I ain't down. And I'm not gonna go along to get along. They told me when I started doing this, all I had to do was be honorable and have fun. That was it. That's what that white woman told me.
Yeah. I guess you're right about that. And I've come across that where, people try to throw some shit in the game and try to, benefit from your labor and all the work that you're doing, and then they want to come in and do a thing when,
Well, I know they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery, but that's just a whole lot of words for thievery. But I mean, what can you do? What can you do? And I think the lights just went out on half the block here. Oh, well, mine is still on.
Oh no!
But you look good. You're glowing. I was like, but you're glowing.
Yeah, I'm still on, but I'm not seeing nothing over there. So, oh well.
It's the house.
The house protects itself.
The house does protect itself. So, Liquid, do you want to add anything now that you're a mistress and you are, it's interesting. I think it's very fitting that you are running for a leather title, IMSL, right? And you are crowned. I'm calling it a crown. And you're and you're covered. But then I do know you, and so you're still going to be doing the same things that you've always been doing, unless of course you're going to do something different that I don't know about.
Before leather, I've always been an advocate and an activist and a social worker, and I've always been community oriented, by any means, and even if it's a small, community. But, again, when we go back to BLX, and the whole purpose of BLX was there was a need there, and it was a need of providing education and erasing the stigma and the shame, especially in Black and brown communities, that come with kink and leather. And, even now it boggles the mind in difference to 27 years ago when I first came into the community, and there wasn't many people that looked like me in the community. So now where people are still saying, I don't have, there isn't much Black and brown community in kink and leather. And I'm just like, but where you live, baby? And providing, resources and education. Because I'm the type of person, you slide into my DMs and you ask me for a resource, or how can you find, or how can you do this? I will provide you with that resource if I'm capable of providing with it. If I don't know it personally, I might pass you on to the next person that does. I will never hoard information because it does a disservice to me and it does a disservice to the community. It's pointless to hoard information. Me holding on to it, what is that doing? Like, it doesn't do anything. So I never get that. I never get like, oh, hit my Cash App and then I'll tell you something. No, I always want to, and it's one of the things that I talk about in therapy. It's like my therapist is like, the problem is you don't know how to stop. I'm like, I know. It's my toxic trait. I just want to help. Blame the cancer in me. But that's what I do. That's just the nature of who I am. I don't see myself not helping, not finding a way, not finding a resource, not being able to make space. As much as I am mentally and emotionally able to do so, I will hold space for a person. I will provide resources. I will, of course, there's also boundaries to this shit, because you're not going to drain me in all of this. But, you know, I will be a support as best as I can. You know, this community is quickly growing, and I want the new people coming in to have the resources and the education that is available to them, you know. And even if they come from a small town where the community might not be as big, you know, I still want to give them the tools that they need necessary to grow and to move on and to move forward, you know. And it's hard because a lot of people aren't like that. They're like, oh, let me put my information behind a paywall. Why?
Also, while I understand wanting to be around people who look like me, when I came around, it was only like 2-3 chocolate chips in the cookie.
Yep.
If you are not in a space where there are Black and brown people or whatever, look, get the knowledge wherever the fuck you can.
You can.
Simple as
That's
that.
true.
Yep.
And as far as, well, I don't feel comfortable in those spaces, change your mind. Change your mind about it. I mean,
and that's a big thing. Mindset.
Walk in like you own the place, and walk and learn until you can find that space.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And also with BLX, not only it's about, you know, guiding or providing an education for BDSM and leather and kink, it's also providing sexual education. Because, you know, I can speak for myself. I've been through, growing up, penicillin used to cure everything. And then penicillin wasn't curing everything. It was just killing everything, right? Like, and so even in this community where people are coming in and not understanding the lingo or what it is that they're looking at, they may be thinking, and we've talked about this in the past, you may be thinking you're going to one thing, but then it turns out to be another thing. So you may be thinking you're going to the dungeon and you're going to be doing some kinky shit, and the kinky shit is really sex. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to be safe about it, right?
And that is by asking questions. Never mind, oh, well, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look like the new person. To hell with that. Whenever you have the choice of saving your ass or saving your face, you save your ass, because you can get another face at Sephora.
Okay.
That part. Yes, absolutely. And another thing to point out is, no matter how long you've been in community, just because you've been in community a certain amount of years, and even people wearing covers, education doesn't stop. The learning doesn't stop. I will tell you how many times I still go to 101 classes, because you know what? The community is evolving. Things change from the way that I learned things in the beginning. So I'm always open to learning. And if you know me outside of leather and kink, I am the person, the annoying person that loves going to trainings. Like, I have over 45 licenses and certifications, because I will find a training and I will go through it, and I go through from every different, you know, specialty of what I do, from mental health to HIV and AIDS. I do all of the things. So even in community, even things that I normally, you know, that might not be my kink, but it might be the kink of a partner. So let me go learn some shit. It doesn't stop. You don't come to a level of mastery, if you want to call it, and just say, okay, I know all the things.
You can never know all the things.
If you look at it, exactly, because if you even look at language, back in the day, it was SSC, you know, safe, saying consensual. Now you got RAC and you got PRIC and you got all of these other acronyms, you know, and the reason why a lot of people moved
Because
from safe,
if
sane, and
nothing
consensual
safe
was
or sane about it.
No, but that
exactly
was
whose
that was
version of
right.
safe
That was
and
the
whose
gag.
version
Who
of,
was safe?
you know, sane
Exactly.
are we talking about?
Uh-huh.
You know, so, you know, always keep an open mind, always be willing to learn, and don't think that because of, again, you are a master or you are a dominant or that you can't learn
Facts.
something from a submissive or a slave.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of people have that mindset, and a lot of people, when they get into these dynamics, they, especially I see with a lot of submissives and a lot of slaves, it's like, oh, whatever the dominant or the master says, you know, and but yet that dominant or master isn't thinking about that slave or submissive, you know. And first and foremost, you know,
That
you got
is
to
the
protect your property.
prime directive. And
That's right.
and this ain't
Protect
your great
your
grandmother's favorite.
property. Exactly. And if you're not thinking about your submissives or your slaves' mental health, physical health, you're not protecting your property.
Also,
If your submissive slave or slave's only goal is to focus and take care of you to a point of burnout, then you're not thinking about your submissive or your slave.
And likewise, if the slave, it's the slave's responsibility to protect the property, meaning protecting themselves. So if they are asked to do something from their master, you got to throw it back at them. You said protect the property. I'm the property. So we need to have a conversation about this because I'm not feeling protected. And then, I mean,
it
you know.
does absolutely extend to the dominant.
Yep.
There are no exceptions to protecting the property. And this is not to get into some bitch fest over some dumb shit. That's not what we're talking about. You know what I mean? But if something is really going against your core, your values, your common sense,
Yep.
then
There's nothing wrong with a slave saying to their master, their whatever, their great gazoo, yeah, I understand you want me to do a thing, but I got to protect the property, and right now we need to have a conversation about that. And then you have the conversation, and if the master top or whatever has an issue with that, then you may want to reevaluate being with that person.
Take out the may. Take out the
You need to reevaluate that, because if you're sitting there and saying to your dominant or whether I'm not feeling well today, I'm really ill, and they're like, I don't give a fuck, I need you to go do this, that, and the third, then they're not putting you first. They're not protecting that property. They don't even give a damn about your well-being.
Then they are not being a master.
That part.
Well, take my sip.
Absolutely. And that's why a lot of you, and especially people that utilize FetLife, and FetLife, I call FetLife the cesspool of kink. And, you know, when FetLife first started back in 2006, you know, it was what it was. It was the Facebook of kink. You know, it was another way to connect folks internationally, you know, to find community, to find events and things like that. But as it progressed and years, many years later, I'm like, and I barely use FetLife. You know, I still have my profile up, but I don't, you know, utilize it. I'm like, I get some 19-year-olds in my DM master. Master at 19. What are you mastering? Wiping your ass because like you're sliding into my DMs. I'm looking for a submissive. Well, clearly you failed the reading test because you didn't even read my profile to skip that part. But people go to events and, you know, people slap labels on themselves. And even as submissives and some slaves do that too. I see them, you know, jumping in. And have you explored and learned about yourself before you put this label on yourself to want to dive into a dynamic? You don't
just
even
click
know.
a button.
Yeah. It's a drop down window.
Yep.
There is no millionaire button on it, because I would be the first one to click it, because I need to be a millionaire, but you know,
That's why
exactly.
you have to do your due
Yep.
You have to do your due diligence. And you know, this whole thing about, well, I'm talking to this master. Well, who is he? Well, he just does things in private.
Oh, the old private master. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know, so common sense. And I understand in today's times, common sense is a superpower.
Yes, that's for sure.
It is power, but you better work it. If not, you will get worked. That's just and
This is very true.
It's no fun. So many people have come into the community and they leave. And I understand you got fucked up, but at what point did you start seeing the shit was messed up? I mean, why did you take all the red flags and gather them together and arrange them for a centerpiece for your dining room table? Why did you do that?
That's true. This is very true.
You have to vet people. You have to spend some time. Go out to a restaurant with them. How do they treat the waiters and shit?
That is a big telling for me. How you treat wait staff,
or if they're even willing to have a conversation with you to tell you what they want, if they can accommodate what it is you want. This and I always get in trouble for this, but you know I don't give a shit. It has to make sense. It has to make sense. Slavery does not mean you are this doormat that somebody could get at Walmart. Everybody has to get fed that which they require, or it's just not going to work. I wish to God I could go piss in the tank of my car and it would go. While still liquid, it's not going to get me nowhere.
Absolutely.
I give my plants water. It might be water for some, but it ain't for my plants.
That's true.
You
One thing
you have to be fed as a slave, as a submissive.
One thing that I always tell slaves when I talk to slaves, or if I'm introducing myself, or they want to like get to know me or whatever, if they call me Sir Raven, and I say, just Raven, I'm not your fucking sir. When we're meeting as equals. If you were sitting down at a table across from me immediately into that, I'm looking at you like, slow down. I don't even know if I want to be with you. So how do you really know if you want to be with me?
Baby, when I was still doing pro dom, then people that call and say, I'll do whatever it is you want, mister.
Oh, I love those people.
You gonna have to go somewhere else and do it because I'm scared of you.
Because those ones, I like to amputate. Yeah, I'm a serial killer. That's what I tell people. I like to amputate and bury bodies. So is that your thing? Then they're looking at you like crazy. I'm like, so don't say anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you think you don't have any, you need to hone that skill because it is a skill. And for women, it's so much easier because we really do have that ability. We talk ourselves out of ourselves constantly, man. And I do not understand it. That gut tell you, you know, I don't think this is right. But he's fine. But he's got 17,000 million followers. But he what? If it don't sit with you, you gonna get fucked.
And not in a good way.
No.
Not in a good way.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people get caught up in that a lot. And I see, especially now with everything with social media, people, and like you said, with the following, people get caught up in that idol mentality.
Yeah.
And they don't see the person as doing no wrong until the person does something fucked up.
And then they get mad and want to put the person on blast. No, bitch, you ain't had no business.
Yep.
This is all very true. This is all very true. Or they fall for the well, if you was a real slave, if you was a real slave,
you know.
if you was a real submissive.
Yeah. But
So.
yeah, it's sad. It's like they get caught up in the hoopla and the hypes and the glitter and the you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fantasy aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It is a fantasy. It is. And
you know, back in the day, all of those magazines and all those stories about all the, you know, the fantasy stuff going on that supposedly was written by mistresses.
Were written by men.
They had their slaves and submissives write that shit. And of course, so they wrote it according to their fantasy. So in the mindset of you gonna walk around all the time naked and she gonna walk around in thigh-high leather boots and
I'm sorry. Ain't nobody got time for that. I gotta go to work. I got shit to do. I'm sorry. and if you serving me, you got shit to do too. So you can't be
right.
No.
You know, and if you're in a dynamic, the dynamic should be where both of you are helping each other to grow. Both. And a lot of people don't see that. It's not for the growth of the master or the dominant. That master, you know, that top should be growing with you and helping you grow.
I mean, that's the whole idea of being on the journey together.
Right. Exactly. And you're building together. It's very true.
Otherwise, he just got, you know, free help, and you know, you're the token. That lightning was a little close there. Sorry. But we in the Bronx, sir. Look out the window.
Do you see that right there?
Through it here. I think that might be. I don't even know if y'all noticed the light flickering.
Yeah. I'm getting kind of nervous. But you know, anyway, I was going to say something that was just not really nice to say, because you know anybody can suck a dick. So I was going to be like anybody, but
we learned that before we can walk. If you think about it,
the more you know.
Start off sucking that bottle, sucking that thumb. So it's not really, you know, I mean, some people do develop that shit into a skill set, but
and I've seen some shit.
yeah.
This is true. So since it is raining in my window,
Another thing.
Yes.
People do not consider. You do not. Sex is not necessarily a mandatory part of a DS dynamic.
Thank you.
Please let me say that. Dick and pussy does not have to be involved on an intimate level.
Yes. There have been situations where I've heard people say, oh, well, I met this great Dom, blah, 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 blah. And I know he's the real deal because he said, you know, we're not going to talk about, you know, sex is not going to be a part of it right now. And I'm like, did you even bring up sex? He's like, no. I'm like, so why is he bringing up it for you? He's trying to make it look like this. And then a week from now, you're like, I fucked him. But I thought it wasn't a part of,
All right.
you know, it's
Yeah.
about educating and vetting and vetting and vetting. And don't vet through their friends and don't vet through their partners.
That's true, because, you know, back in the day when they didn't have the internet,
When it was
and they
just
just had,
pages,
it was the Village Voice. The Village Voice. Back in the day,
good old days. I miss the Village Voice.
you know, back in the days of the Village Voice. Now I want to know your LinkedIn name. I want to know all that.
Check the
Got
Carfax.
Exactly.
You know, remember the good old days, you know, when you went to an event and, you know, now it's like people post events online and a lot of them like, yeah, we do vetting. And there is no vetting, because then you see like 5 or 6 consent violators or known abusers at the party. But back in the day, like, especially in the days for me of the Vault and Hellfire, you had to know somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody to come to those events. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to walk off the street and just enter this place. And a lot of people now, you know, like when I tell people about how the scene was different, scene was a hell of a lot different, because, you know, we don't all have labels slapped on us right now.
And it's different going forward.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my generation, you know, gets a little uptight and talk about how, well, these young people, this, that, or the other. Shut the fuck up. The generation before us said the same thing about our asses. Shit changes and evolves. The foundation, the basic, does not. That is to be honorable, do no harm.
Yes.
And I will
That's true.
say it like I've said it many, many, many times. Character and honor are easier kept than recovered.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Okay. On that note, do you have any last parting words of wisdoms? Any more jewels that you want to drop out of your mouth, Max?
Just have fun. Have fun. It's not always going to be happy times, but it is absolutely not supposed to be no consistent miserable time either. It is not to be that. It is not supposed to be long suffering shit. Sometimes there are bad days, but if that shit starts turning into a 365-day Broadway run, you are in the wrong play.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. That is right. And with that, thank you. Thank you, community, for being with us. Thank you, Max, for, you know, coming out and doing the thing.
Thank you so much.
You know,
and some of the comments that we got in there as you were talking was like, I'm in Leather Kink Church.
Well, then we gotta take y'all to church again. You know, we really appreciate it when we do these things. You know, we always are very mindful
Velvet said hi,
when we do these things. And yes, there's Velvet. Hi, Velvet. To come out and bring you people who can, you know, educate us, and they get some education. We're feeding each other as a community. You know, like you said, we're not here to hoard information. We do want to continue to feed the community in a certain way. We are going to be who we are, so you get what you get when you get us. That's a lot of getting. But, you know, we do have fun. We have fun, but we are being serious at times as well. And we do want people to be safe. We really, really do. Like Liquid said back in the day, we would all have a label on. I know I would. I can't speak for them. I know I would. So with that, until next time.
Love you,
Okay.
Max. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Master Max and Mastress Liquid. I'm just never going to get that right. Anyway, thank you. Until next time, community.
Thank you all. Have a
Peace
good
with here,
night.
Greece.
Bye.
Bye.